morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And how do you do? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. And I love you. Hoo-hoo. I'm whispering because I got my little grandbabies next door, right? In the next room. So I'm just going to just whisper for as long as I can. But my God woke me up this morning to introduce me, Edwina B, to the Free to Hope conversation. Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. As you can see, I'm just the way I am. I did wash my face, didn't comb my hair, can't find my dentures, but guess what? I'm here. And my God said, Rise, Edwina. I don't care how you look. I got something for you to do this morning. So I give him the honor, the praise, the glory, the hallelujah, the worship, and most importantly, y'all, the acknowledgement. If y'all follow me throughout the day, y'all will hear me say, Lord, I love you. Lord, I love you. Lord, I thank you. I thank you all day long. I'm telling you. Because I recognize who I am and whose I am and who delivered me 34 plus years ago from underneath a parked car, right? For me to be sitting here before you, sharing with you spiritual principles, tools, and resources from all spiritual vehicles, right? So that I can have an unlimited amount of spiritual breakthroughs, which I have. So I have been set free. Y'all know the saying, right? From recovery, I have emerged empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. And so I am so honored that my God, who I found in Alcoholics Anonymous, and who have directed me to the church of my choice, Canaan Baptist Church, where my pastor, Dr. Christopher Allen Bullock, and my first lady, Dr. Debbie Bullock. Man, I love my first family. Yes, I do. I've been a member there for going on 19 years. Who would have ever thought I would be a member of a church, let alone work for a church? But God, but God. And so my journal that I kept the first 4 years, introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, spiritual program, spiritual fellowship, the UWEs, a family with the 5 agreements, right? The spiritual revival hour, gospel songs by Dr. Benjamin Trimby Brown. Yes, and y'all know I'm the new ED for community communications as Twin appointed me during his transition. I want you to be in charge. And I said, well, I'm bringing Don with me, Don Thomas of DFAM Films out of Atlanta. And guess what, y'all? He's coming back home to Delaware. All right. And of course, Dr. Sonia from P3 Global. Those are all my spiritual tools, resources, and principles that I've applied to all earthly matters. Therefore, I am living my heaven on earth. All right, so let's get to the topic today, all right? Okay, so y'all know my thing is canceled. So let me do this, all right? I told you I got to whisper because my grandkids are over there. All right, now, first of all, let me reread yesterday's saying because today relates to it as well. But yesterday, from the Alcoholics Anonymous program, we shared that. Let me put this up here. Okay, let me put it there. It says the problem of release from fear. The problem of resolving fear has 2 aspects. We shall have to try for all the freedom from fear that is possible for us to attain. Then we shall need to find both the courage and grace to deal constructively with whatever fears remain. This is as Bill sees it, page 61. And this is what I really want to focus on, what the person in recovery shared from his perspective. He said, most of my decisions were based on fear. Alcohol made life easier to face, but the time came when alcohol was no longer an alternative to fear. One of the greatest gifts in AA for me has been the courage to take action, which I can do with God's help. After 5 years of sobriety, I had to deal with a heavy dose of fear. God put the people in my life to help me do that, and through my working the 12 steps, I am becoming the whole person I wish to be. And for that, I am deeply grateful, right? And so the first part, which I didn't get a chance to share on yesterday, going through my life's journey, and I shared in my AA program yesterday morning how fear is a learned behavior, and so I talked about the times when I was fearful, and I gave a couple examples, and one was, but anyway, here they are. So the one example that I gave, we always heard about the boogeyman, right? The boogeyman gonna get you, the boogeyman gonna get you, being afraid of the dark and things of that nature, right? So like many, I experienced that too. And so when I was in the uh, in the bedroom with my three other siblings, sisters, right? And it was dark, and nobody left the light on in the bathroom, which they normally should do. And so I woke up my sister. I said, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the bathroom. And she said, Wayne, leave me alone. I said, Deborah, I got to go to the bathroom. She said, Wayne, what? I said, Ruby, I got to go to the bathroom. She said, girl, you better go back to sleep. So nobody walked me to the bathroom because I was afraid because of that boogeyman, right? And guess what? I peed right there on the floor. Yes, I did. I peed right there on the floor. Hmm. So, again, it's amazing how that situation perpetuated throughout my life, that there's a boogeyman, the dark, the boogeyman, the boogeyman. So, learned behavior, right? And come to find out, there's no boogeyman, and all I had to do was turn the light on, right? But I didn't know that. And so, another episode that I talked about yesterday in my AA meeting was fear that my father instilled in us. Now, my father was abusive to my mom, and there were times when he made us sit down and not made us watch, but because we was all huddled together, he proceeded to abuse my mother right in front of us. And the fear of that he instilled in us, like, I dare you to move, I dare you to say anything, and we was like, right. But at the same time, watching my mother, get beat up, and for years that bothered me, and I had a lot of guilt about not being able to help my mother, right, because of the fear my father instilled in us, right. That was another example. And then the third example I gave was when I was doing my doctoral presentation down in Florida, right? And there were 27 individuals, including myself, and we had to present an overview. And so they passed around who was going to go first, second, third, through 27, right? So as they passed it around, nobody picked number one. Well, guess who picked number one? I walked through the fair and put my name. I'm going first. I don't care. I'm going first, right? And so when I got up there and I believed I knew exactly what I was talking about because of my addiction and the recovery process. And I presented, my overview. But what they didn't tell me was the 26 people were going to ask me some questions after I did my overview. Okay, all right. So the first few questions were easy to answer. And then the others started to get challenging. And then I found myself stuttering. I found myself lying. And I was like, ooh, And underneath my breath, I was like, Lord, take me out of here now. Lord, take me out. I don't belong here. Oh, no, no, no. They didn't hear me say this, but the fear just overwhelmed me like, I don't belong here. I'm a prostitute. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. And all these people are bright and rich and white and da, da, da. And I don't belong here. And I just said underneath my breath, Lord, help me, please, help me right now, help me. And guess what? The next question that came, Oh, yes, ma'am. I did not think about that situation, but I will consider it the next time I present. You have, oh, yes, sir. Thank you for that additional information. I will definitely include it. And so you see, when I faced that fear and I asked for God's help, immediately He gave it to me. And so in Alcoholics Anonymous, we've learned that the acronym for fear is face everything and recover. Whereas before, in my life and in my addiction, it was F everything and run. Forget everything and run, right? Drink alcohol to forget. Drink alcohol to deal. Drink alcohol, do drugs, right? And after a while, it didn't work anymore. You know what I mean? And so that's why I love sharing with you what the readings are for today. And so he says, he is one of the greatest gifts in AA for me has been the courage to take action, which I can do with God's help. And so I've learned through my journey in these 34 plus years that I've been provided some awareness that I never had before. I have been provided spiritual tools, resources, and principles to go back and find out what happened to me, opposed to me thinking something was wrong with me. And so when we talk about fear and recovery, we have to recognize that it is a learned behavior and it has been embedded in us since man has been here in one way, shape, form, or fashion. The fact that we were born into sin, right? And we all have sinful natures and we were taught certain behaviors. So let's see what today's topics talks about, okay? I just wanted to do that introduction. Okay. So today's topic says, okay, here it is. Let me put this down. It says fear and faith, right? It says the achievement of freedom from fear is a lifetime undertaking, one that can never be wholly completed. When under heavy attack, acute illness, or in other conditions of serious insecurity, we shall all react to this emotion, well or badly, as the case may be. Only the self deceived will claim perfect freedom from fear. As Bill sees it, page 263. Now, the person in recovery shares his perspective. He says, fear has caused suffering when I could have had more faith. There are times when fear suddenly tears me apart, just when I'm experiencing feelings of joy, happiness, and a lightness of heart. Faith and a feeling of self worth toward a higher power helps me endure tragedy and ecstasy. When I choose to give all of my fears over to my higher power, I will be free. Oh my God. Did you hear that? Huh? Did you hear that? Now, let me give you my perspective, and I hope you can think about your perspective, right? And so when he says here, and as Bill sees it, our co-founder, he says the achievement of freedom from fear is a lifetime undertaking. Let's stop there, right? You mean to tell me that they're saying freedom from fear is a lifetime undertaking? Mm. And what that is telling me that this is going to be a part of my earthly journey, right? And it's telling me that I need to expect, right, these situations, right, that will bring about fear, right? But it also says the freedom from fear, the freedom from fear will be a lifelong undertaking. So that to me says I will be facing fear, but I can always seek the solution to be freed from fear. All right. And then he says here, um, when under heavy attack, acute illness, or in emotional conditions of serious insecurity, we shall all react to this emotion, right? well or badly as the case may be, right? And so when I gave you the few examples of my journey of recognizing now in hindsight how fearful I was and what a fearful nature I still have. I'm not talking about when somebody comes up behind you and say boo and you jump. You know what I mean? That's a natural instinct to be okay, to react like that. But we're talking about the fear that kept me from moving, the fear that kept me from doing things that I wish I could do, the fear of what people might say, fear of what people might do, all kinds of fear, right? And so one of the things that I have learned in my recovery process is that whether good situations or bad situations, that fear comes up in one way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's why these spiritual principles, tools, and resources will help me, right, eradicate or decrease, right, those fears because I don't need to be fearful in any situation, whether good or bad, right? And so one example, like I did give you, was when I was, doing my presentation for my doctorate. That was a good fear, right? Right, meaning that I had to walk through that, and then the ugly fear of, my father abusing my mother and him instilling fear in us. That was a bad situation, right? And so fear, nevertheless, was there. And so I've learned to apply these spiritual principles to all my affairs, particularly those situations that generate fear. Now, here he goes. He says, only the self deceived will claim perfect freedom from fear. Mm-hmm. You know how some people say, I ain't afraid of nothing. I ain't fearful of nothing. And according to our co founder, that person, and maybe it was me at one time, I just can't remember. We are self deceived if we think we are totally right, free from fear. And it says here, right? It says, only the self deceived will claim perfect freedom from fear. Okay, so let's see what the person says from his perspective, right? He says, fear has caused suffering when I could have had more faith. Mm. Fear, he says, has caused suffering when I could have had more faith. So before I learned the intricate parts and the detailed parts and the true meaning of faith, majority of the time, if not all the time, it was always fear, right? But when I think about the times I had faith, right? When I woke up in the morning, I had faith that my mom was going to cook us some breakfast, right? I had faith that even though I didn't want to, but I was going to go to school, right? And when my mom came home, I had faith that she was going to cook dinner. Okay, so having faith is not new to me, but in certain areas, right? And so I also learned that, yes, hold on, y'all. Yes, I love you too. I want my phone back. Don't get calling. That was my son coming to say he loved me. Excuse me. No, I'm not going to say excuse me. Oh my God, see. Ooh. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. There was a time when I wondered if I would ever hear those words again from my son, right? Um, for many reasons, varied reasons, but what's more important is right here, right now. So he opens up the door, calls me, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I excuse myself from y'all. And he says, I just call to say I love you. Yeah, I love you too, son. So anyway, back to his perspective, okay? So he says, fear has caused suffering when I could have had more faith. So can you give some examples when faith just came natural for you, or I would say expectations, anticipation, right? And versus how much fear you have experienced throughout your life and still today, and vice versa, okay? So he goes on to say, there are times when fear suddenly tears me apart, just when I'm experiencing feelings of joy, happiness, and a lightness of heart. Wow. There are times when fear suddenly tears me apart, just when I'm experiencing feelings of joy, happiness, and a lightness of heart. Let me see if I can think about an example. Okay, so. All right, okay. All right. My grandchildren in particular, right? And so I shared the other day too, when we um, have faith versus fear, it reminds me, and I get back to my grandkids, right? That when I get on a roller coaster, right? Faith tells me, right? Okay, you let them strap you in. Faith says, "Yeah, this is going to hold you. You're not going to fall and whatnot, right? Now, this is a roller coaster, a fun ride, right, yeah, but while I'm strapped in, and it's supposed to be fun, right? My heart is beating fast, right? And I go up that roller coaster, and so while I'm having fun and while I'm anticipating, I'm strapped in, I got faith that I ain't gonna fall or nothing. But the fear of going up that thing and going over, that's one example. Then the other thing is, like, when I am with my grandchildren and I'm allowing them to play, and I'm allowing them to be themselves, be children. For instance, in the swimming pool. So as I was teaching my grandchildren how to swim, there were times where this was a fun event, right? An exciting event for them and for me. But you better believe my eyes and my feelings, well, there was some fear in there, right? And so watching her like a hawk, or watching them like a hawk, in the midst of them enjoying themselves, I'm watching, because fear is saying, well, stay, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? So what's your example? All right, I got to keep going. All right, so then it says here, right? Da 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 da. And then it says faith and a feeling of self-worth toward a higher power helps me endure tragedy and ecstasy. Wow, did you hear that, y'all? It says faith and a feeling of self-worth toward a higher power helps me endure tragedy and ecstasy, right? So faith. I shared with someone the other day, God has allowed me to take care of non-family members on hospice, right? Well, maybe not all of them were on hospice, but they all transitioned under my care, right? And I thank God for preparing me for that. And so in the beginning, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear. I didn't like dead bodies. I didn't like being around dead bodies. Why? Because I was forced to kiss my grandmother, my great grandmother, whose body was cold, and I didn't know, no. So I had a fear of dead bodies, right? And it's amazing how through my 12-step spiritual journey, I've learned to understand about transition a little better. Yeah, it's still with the dead bodies, okay. But guess what? I done seen them. I done seen them bent over, turned over, laid over, and so it's a beautiful thing when you understand the transition and knowing that this is only the vessel, right? And so in tragedy and in ecstasy, right? I know that now that being absent from the soul being absent from the body, is with God. So yeah, so I'm elated that their spirit has gone on, right? And then the tragedy, the tragedy of losing a loved ones, you know what I mean? It's kind of self-centered in some way, but if you, like me, had to understand what that process was, then it doesn't matter because faith says it's going to be all right no matter what. Okay, so the last sentence says, when I choose, oh my God, here's the word, when I choose to give all of my fears over to my higher power, I will be free. When I choose to give all of my fears to my higher power, who I choose to call God, I will be free. And let me tell you, I am more than on my way. We will never be perfect on this side, right? And those who are self-deceived, God bless you. I pray for you. But I know each and every day that fear and other emotions may come my way. And the fact that I've been given a spirit of discernment, I am prepared to see things way before they come or see them as they come or coming. And I can make a decision. I can choose to say, God, listen, the devil is a liar. Oh, remember I told y'all the other day when I picked up a it was a back scratcher that was metal, and it had two pieces, and the one piece reminded me of a crack stem. Oh yes, I mean, oh my goodness, the immediate physical reaction, mental reaction, right? I mean, like out of nowhere, right? And so, but I knew what to do with it. I wrapped that thing up and said, "Devil, you a lie! You get the hell out of here!" Right? And I went and I shared it in my home group. Yes, I've learned not to give anybody that much power ever again to make me go back to drinking, cracking, prostituting, all that old kind of stuff, right? And so, because of that, I've learned to continue to use the acronym for fear. Face everything and recover. Face everything and rejoice. Face everything and be restored. Face everything and rejuvenate. Practice faith, practice faith, practice faith, faith, faith. And guess what? Just for the day, no matter what comes down the pipe that life may deal us in a card game, I know who the dealer is now. And so it's after 7. I got to go to my meeting, but I just want to say I love you. I love you. I love you. Listen, I know y'all love me too, as cuckoo for Cocoa Pops as I am. Now I'm going to leave early so I can find my dentures. I just don't know where they are. And that's the beauty of being set free and being authentic and transparent. Y'all know my spirit, right? Y'all know my spirit. And y'all also know I can get down when I want to as far as clothes is concerned. But I don't like, I just like freedom, right? But I've learned boundaries and discipline and being obedient, okay? Because it's just not my world all by myself. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to be me, for accepting me the way that I am, and most importantly, to know that it's the message and not the messenger that counts. So, did you get the message today of fear and faith? Have you been able to think about the times when you experience fear and when you experience faith, right? And have you decided, did you choose to turn all of your fears over to your higher power, right? So that you can be free? I know I do. One day at a time, all day long. I love you, you love me. We are one big old family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too, 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 too? If it's God's will that you and I are rejoined tomorrow, I'll be here, and I pray, if it's God's will, that you will be too. In the meantime, set yourself free from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. Be of service today. God bless you. Oh, Lord, I love you. I